Hello, welcome to lesson 8 of our medical terminology class. With chapter 7, with lesson 7, we finished studying the formation of words coming from Greek roots and Greek prefixes and suffixes. We have now to move on to formation from Latin, from the Latin language, the language of the Romans and of the inhabitants of the Roman Empire. Now, this does not mean that you have to forget the Greek formations because there may be compounds with Greek words, so Greek and Latin words. So you have to keep in mind everything that you have learned until now and add the new material as usual. Don't be intimidated by the chapter length. It is true that you have to read very well the chapter that gives a long introduction of also how the grammar of Latin works, and that you have several new prefixes and suffixes to study, but the methodology is the same, so you already got the gist of it. It shouldn't be too difficult. But it takes time, so take your time to memorize all these new entries, and probably the first exercises you will do with the Latin terminology will be slower, okay? You will have to get used to them again, just like you did at the beginning of the semester. Now, a few things to consider while dealing with Latin. First of all, the connecting vowel between prefix or compound words and suffixes that in Greek was always O, can be O, U, or I. Very often it's I, okay? Like in a ventricle, okay? But it can be O in purulent, or U in purulent, or still O in a compound with the miel that you have studied in the Greek form, and fibrosis, which instead is a Latin term, okay? Miel of fibrosis. New connecting vowels. What about the nouns? So the nouns in Latin are divided in declensions, meaning in 5 groups that follow, that have different endings depending on the function of the word in a sentence. Latin is a language that works exactly like Greek. Okay, so it has different cases with different endings of the words depending on the function of each word in a sentence. Depending on the declension to which these words pertain, you have different endings for the Latin word. So, for example, word of the first declension end in a, okay, fistula, and the compound word, the combining word is formed by dropping the ending a in the Latin sound, so fistul. For the second declension, you have an ending in us for masculine and feminine noun, and it would be for neuter nouns, and usually the combining word for English is formed by dropping the us ending, okay, rather than the a of the first declension, so nas for nose, okay. Then there are words of the third declension, which is just like the third declension in Greek, is more complicated because it has often a different stem in the genitive form. For example, the word for tooth is dens dentis in Latin, and it is from cutting the is of the genitive that you get the stem dent, which which used to form Latin derivatives in English. So, for example, the person who cures the teeth, so dentist, okay, comes from dent rather than from the nominative dents. Okay? But again, these are all the forms that you study in the list of the vocabulary, in the vocabulary list, as you have done for Greek nouns until now. Okay? In Latin, there are also a series of diminutives, so words that indicate little things and are usually identifiable with an L in the endings, so auricula, capitulum, cerebellum. Okay, these are diminutives, but these are things that you will read in chapter 8, and we can talk about it if you have questions. Okay, I think what it's needed now is just that you read very carefully the chapter, start doing the exercises and really do all the exercises for chapter 8, because that's the only way to really take speed, okay, get used to them and become sort of fluent as you have done in for the Greek words. I'm sure you have noticed that after the first 2 chapters you have started to do the exercises with greater speed. Okay.